Life is lived forward, but understood backwards. You don't know what's going to happen in life. And where you are right now, you can look back and connect all those dots what led you to where you're at. My recovery from neurosarcoidosis, all I was concerned about is getting this movement back. I took accountability for my own life, my recovery and addiction. Dosage started to increase. Field and indoor professional lacrosse, played in 3 Final Fours, an enormous honor and just really humbling. I'm Bill McGlone. I played at the University of Maryland for the lacrosse program from 2002 to 2006. I obviously knew about the University of Maryland lacrosse program as their, top contenders year in and year out. So I know it was somewhere I would always love to attend. And fortunately, I had enough success in high school to get the opportunity to come here.
He started playing lacrosse around 7th or 8th grade. And when he entered high school as a freshman, he made the varsity squad. And I thought that was truly remarkable for a kid that just picked up a stick. He found his niche in the athletic world. So it was really exciting to see and really fun to watch.
Once he was sucked into it, he put his all into it. And he worked really hard to be the best he could be. He self-drove himself to everything that he's accomplished.
Bill McGlone scored in every game this year.
Lefty, he's got a right-hand cannon as well. It was the velocity on it.
Billy McGlone, he's a very athletic midfielder.
Doesn't get any more big time than that. His team needed a goal. Bill McGlone blows it. Ray McGlone just showed me a lot there.
It was just fun to watch him progress over the years and really have a remarkable career. I mean, really the whole experience of just watching him grow and play at Maryland and just have the success that he did was probably my favorite memory altogether.
I contribute a lot of my personal success to our team's success. We played in 3 Final Fours out of my 4 years here, winning the ACC championships, both my sophomore and senior year. Just the team winning and the celebration on the field afterward, you just can't beat that. Those kind of experiences just stay with you for a lifetime. Being named captain my junior year was probably still to this day my biggest achievement in athletics. It's such an honor and just really humbling for the fact that my teammates did nominate me to be the captain at that age. The game of lacrosse has had a huge impact on my life, but I think it's done more for me than just the actual sport itself. It's taught me invaluable lessons between, hard work, integrity, accountability, how to handle adversity. Anything can happen. It's how you respond to those things that is going to determine your success. So I was playing both field professional lacrosse and indoor professional lacrosse, and when I found out I was traded to Philadelphia, that's a dream come true. Get to play in front of all my family and friends at the Wells Fargo Center, somewhere I used to go as a kid. I used to watch the Wings as a kid, and I ran into an old buddy of mine in my hometown, and he had some Percocets. He offered me a Percocet for free. Didn't think too much about it. Didn't think that this would lead to anything more serious, and I really enjoyed it. So from there, I ran into him again. Same thing happened. And then I started to seek it out a little bit. It turned into every few weekends, then every weekend, and then from every weekend to maybe a few days during the week. And then it just progressed into an everyday habit. I remember playing in games, and it was a struggle just not to do it at halftime. My lower doses that made me feel good before wasn't really working, so I had to increase my dosage to get that same feeling. And this wasn't to get high or to even get that feeling. It was to the point where it was just to feel normal.
Coming out of college, he's playing a professional sport that he loves. He's out there having fun. I think as his career kept going on and the injuries started piling up, that's kind of when I noticed a change in his behavior. Just his mind wasn't there. He was just kind of erratic when it came to just thinking and stuff like that. And I just kind of noticed him being a lot less happier.
My lacrosse career obviously took a backseat to my addiction, and I lost pretty much all my ambition to be successful in lacrosse. I believe it was either my 4th or 5th year, I just didn't show up at training camp. People are reaching out to me, and I did what I knew best. I ran and I hid. As an addict, there is certain things that in my life that led me to pick up drugs. It's a lot of insecurities that I have, a lot of fears of being judged, fears of rejection. There was many lows. One of them, I was at a local football game, my actually alma mater, my local high school, and I got in trouble, and I ended up getting arrested outside of the football game. There's tons of people who either knew me or I knew them, and it was just completely embarrassing. And some of those fears I talk about, that was right there in front of my face. That was the start of the low. And I think that's a blessing because that triggered me to let my parents know.
He promised us, he said, Mom, he said, listen, I think I'm gonna try to do this on my own. So we let him go, and we kept an eye on him and stuff like that.
My whole family, my girlfriend at the time, my now wife, and all my in-laws were there, and they had a little intervention for me. And of course, I tell them I'm fine, everything's good, and they just weren't buying it. And they said, no, how are you dealing with it? Because the way you're living is not acceptable.
He was defensive, but he didn't react as bad as I thought he would, so it made me feel better. He gave me hope in his response that he was gonna beat this.
Luckily, my sister and my sister-in-law, they showed me a rehab facility that I could attend. You know, I got to go up to rehab in Harrisburg. I stayed there for 35 days, and you know, I got physically clean and sober. Now the next part was to work on the spiritual aspect of things. You know, those fears, those insecurities, all those things that led me to my addiction.
I knew he had his mindset on getting better and getting healthy. I just thought, well, you know, he's done everything in life based on, you know, hard work and dedication. I don't see this as being any different.
I'm in a 12-step recovery program. I would go to a meeting every day. I could really buy into that program because it was just about being a better person. It took accountability for my own life, and you know, I didn't want to point the fingers at anybody else. You know, I wanted to lift people up with my successes.
And he's been doing it now for 8 years, and I'm really proud of him because it's such a hard thing for so many people to do. And it's just truly remarkable that he's been able to stay sober for so long and just continue to, you know, do the right things day in and day out.
Since I entered recovery, I gained that self-respect back and understanding that what I can make out of life is up to me.
He's trying to give back. He's so grateful for everything that he has, you know, gotten out of that program. But it was 15 months later when he got the disease.
Things were getting better in my life. In field lacrosse, I had to call. I had to, you know, admit my faults, ask for an opportunity to come back, and luckily I was granted that and got to play for the Ohio Machine. We're playing in the playoffs. I'm training for that, and I'm just having all these issues on my right side. Like my right leg was killing me, and couldn't jump rope, couldn't train the way I was normally training. Unbeknownst to myself, there was also some cognitive issues. I didn't think there was any at the time, but people around me were noticing. And actually, you know, my father thought I was relapsing. I went down to my sponsor's house down in Stone Harbor, and I believe my father gave my sponsor a call and said, hey, keep an eye on him. We're heading down to the beach. We ride bikes down to the beach, and I hop on the bike to take off, and I lose my balance, and I end up riding into a bush. I get angry at this point because I'm like, what is going on?
They were really adamant about, you know, hey, Bill, go get checked out. You know, something's not right. And so finally we did. And at the time I was able to go with him to the hospital when he got the first MRI.
And I'll never forget, the doctor comes in after the MRI, and she had a really somber look on her face, and she says, you have a large mass on your left frontal lobe, the left side of your brain. You need to go to a major hospital immediately. And as I'm sitting there waiting for the transport, my wife walks in. She's my girlfriend at the time, but she walks in. And she was a nurse at a local hospital, and she knew I was getting an MRI this morning. So she checked up on the MRI report, and she saw what it said. And she knew something was wrong.
I mean, I instantly thought it was brain cancer. I work oncology, I'm an oncology nurse. Seeing that MRI, that was I was like, oh, this is it. He's not gonna make it. You know, I have to be there for him.
I remember at that point is when I called my sponsor, and I had to let him know what the results were. And that's when it hit me. You know, when I had to verbally, vocally say it out loud, it hit me like a ton of bricks. You know, I started crying. I was very emotional about it. And that's what kind of really started my journey in the hospitals. You know, he pulled the MRI up on the screen, and you know, the white part of the MRI shows the inflammation in the brain. Well, the whole left side of my brain was inflamed. A portion of my right side of the brain was inflamed. They ran every test under the under the sun on me. You know, everything came back negative. Didn't know if it was a brain tumor, if it was cancer, if it was MS. You just didn't know what it was.
For 2 weeks, we were in limbo. They didn't know what it was. They did 2 spinal taps. He was in the hospital. They weren't really doing anything. We brought him home, and then he took a seizure here.
And thank God my wife is a trained nurse. She didn't freak out as my mom did. And, you know, she let my mom know to call 911. They ended up doing a biopsy on me. So they go in, they scrape part of the lesion out. They send it away to the lab to find out exactly what it is. And, you know, they bring me up to the ICU to recover. It's like I think it was like close to 24 hours and I haven't woken up. That's not normal. The nurse noticed that I was hiccuping, and the doctors, they kicked everybody out of my room. They intubated me on the spot, and they rolled me down for emergency surgery, where they cut out a piece of my skull here to allow space for my brain to swell out. From what I'm told, if they waited a short amount of time, like within minutes to hours, I could have been permanently brain dead or even died. The thing that gets me the most emotional is what my family and friends were going through, what my wife was going through. That still gets me.
But the worst thing is when he was coming out of the anesthesia after they did the craniotomy, the nurse wanted to give him some pain medicine. And he's going like this, he's shaking his head. But I know he didn't want it because a tear came down his face, and that broke my heart.
The only thing I knew when I came to was I couldn't move my right side of my body. I was paralyzed. And that was probably the scariest part. Just being an athlete, being physically active my whole life, to have that feeling of not being able to move your right side of your body, it's my worst nightmare. You know, but at the same time I was alive, and you know, I had an opportunity. That kind of led the way into diagnosing me with this culture did. It's called neurosarcoidosis. It's an autoimmune disease. It's extremely rare. There's no clear idea of where it comes from or how someone attains it. From that point on, I slowly but surely progressed, and I struggled. I struggled at first from small things. You know, right and left. What's your right side? What's your left side? No idea. So I remember the doctor was in there, and I said, hey, am I going to get any of this movement back? And I remember she said, just take it easy, you know, work hard, and take it one day at a time. And that was kind of a light bulb moment for me, because that's something we say a lot in recovery in our 12-step program. I said, well, I did it with my addiction. I can do it here. And to be honest, there's nothing anybody would have said to me that was going to stop me from walking and talking.
You know, he was in recovery, and his personality started to come back. I saw his determination. I knew what a hard worker he was, and there was like little glimpses of his personality that I was like, okay, there's Bill McGlone.
So they would give me things to do, and they'd give me reps, and I would just take it on my own to double, triple, quadruple them. You know, I took that competitive mindset that I had throughout my playing days, and I applied it to my rehab. And you know, that's something I'm pretty proud of.
He proved everybody wrong, and God, he was supposed to be there for months, and he ended up being there less than 2 weeks. That's when I knew, like, okay, we're gonna come out on top of this.
Even though I just got through an addiction, I just earned my way back onto these teams, and now something else was popping up, I had to take accountability, like, hey, this is what's going on, what am I gonna do about it? That's a question I ask myself all the time. From the start of my recovery and addiction to this day, is when something happens, how are you gonna respond?
Certainly to overcome both issues, I mean, it's definitely something to be proud of. I'm proud of him. It just speaks to, you know, his hard work, his dedication, and his want to. And that's really something that I admire, because, you know, being an older brother, being the oldest brother, you know, you always think that the younger ones look up to you, but after everything that he's done and everything that he's accomplished, you know, I'm the one looking up to him.
I feel like he was an all-star throughout his whole life, and I mean, it's amazing to see where he is today. It's still a struggle. He still has issues with the brain. He has to get infusions every 6 weeks, but he doesn't take life for granted anymore, and, you know, it's easy to. He's like an inspiration.
We try to bring the kids up right, but he's especially going out of his way to try to really help a lot of people. He's been able to go up and you know, talk about his story and try to enlighten people.
To relay messages, lessons that I've learned throughout my experiences. That's the whole purpose of me coaching, and that's what coaches did for me. That's what I want to do for other kids. And at the University of Maryland, and never would have thought that this would have come back into play in my life so strongly, but our motto is be the best. And I took that motto and I really truly believe in it. And that doesn't mean you have to be, you know, the best in the world. Just be your best. Just become the best that you can become. Be the best. Just giving everybody a quick update on my current status situation. I get MRIs twice a year to monitor my brain disease, and the last MRI I got, which a few weeks ago, they saw that my brain was sitting lower in my skull, and it's a condition called Chiari malformation. And good news is they can resolve it. Bad news is they have to cut into me, go into the brain again. So if it can relieve these headaches that I've been experiencing for the last 7-8 years, and it's gotten much worse over the last few months. If it can resolve those, then I'm all for this. Just the day in the life, another chapter in the book, another obstacle to overcome. So I just try to handle it, accept it, and overcome it with a smile on my face. Love you guys. Appreciate all the love and support from everyone. And go Terps, winning a national championship this year. Be the best.